What's up guys, welcome back to MACkite. This is Jake, and today I'm super excited to talk to you about the all-new Waydoo Evo eFoil. We've been carrying Waydoo for a while, probably 2 years now. We've been riding the Flyer 1 Plus and just absolutely loving it. Waydoo figured it was time for a refresh, and dang did they deliver. So let's go through kind of what's new with this, what we really like about it, what some of the disadvantages are, and then help dial in what the right eFoil is for you. So the configuration of the Evo that we have currently is going to be the 90-liter board. It's going to be the larger of the batteries and the performance motor. That's going to be $63.99. Really, really cool when you consider that's what the Flyer 1 Plus retailed for. You're gaining probably 50 to 75% runtime with that larger battery. Definitely more power with the motor. And the smaller board, while it's a little bit trickier to get started with, it's definitely a more fun, agile board once you're up out of the water. New for this year, Waydoo is going to have just a whole slew of different options. So we've got the 90-liter board. They're going to be introducing a 75-liter carbon down the road, and then a larger 130-liter board. So if you're more experienced and you want something higher performance tuned, the 75 is going to be the ticket. If you're a larger rider, want something just easier to cruise and get started with, the 130 liter is going to be great. They're also going to have a couple different mast sizes. We have a shorter 27, a longer 35 inch mast, and then they're also going to introduce a 31-inch carbon. A lot of the carbon stuff is going to be meant to be used with the actual carbon board setup as well. They're going to have a special attachment and propulsion unit, and that's going to be on the higher end of the spectrum. Right now it's looking like it's going to be in about the $8,000 range. When you compare it to its competitors price-wise, that's quite favorable for what you're getting. Time will tell how it stacks up in terms of actual ride quality and performance. We'll review that in the future, and that's going to be available probably in the fall to winter. They're also going to have some different battery options. You're going to have a standard battery and then a longer lasting battery. That's the one we're using. Waydoo says it's up to about 2 hours, 110 minutes. I would say from experience, that's fairly accurate. We were able to get an hour and a half pretty comfortably. Some of our lighter riders were able to push a little higher. That battery life is always going to be determined how and where you're using it. You know, what's the weight of the riders, you know, what speed you're going, what the current is. All that's going to determine the life, but I think an hour and a half is quite safe. That is a pretty decent improvement over the Flyer 1 Plus, which we found tended to have a 45-minute to hour lifespan. You're also going to get a couple different motors. You're going to get a standard motor and then a performance motor, which is going to just have more power. That's really, really noticeable when you get on there. I was really comfortably riding on probably the 7-speed setting, goes all the way up to 20 to 24, so you can really, really get cooking on this. You can just feel that low-end torque. It's really easy to use. Another really cool feature they introduced for this year is a sensor. So that's currently available on all the boards that they're selling. Down the road, they are going to come out with a sensorless board, and that's going to bring down the cost a little bit. But what that sensor essentially does is measure your position relative to the water, and it keeps the board from basically pitching up and sending you shooting out. So that's going to measure and keep it nose down, which makes it really, really accessible. If you're familiar with eFoil, you're pretty comfortable. You're probably not going to use that feature all that much. Honestly, when I first went out there, I didn't even notice it. But we've had some newer riders who got on, and it was definitely a factor that led to them picking the sport up way, way quicker. When they got on the Flyer 1 Plus, there definitely was those moments where you kind of lean back and it shoots out, where they didn't have that with this board. So it's just one of those features that not everyone is going to use. It will save you occasionally, but it makes the Waydoo really, really accessible. So if you're taking your Waydoo and you want a lot of friends and family to ride it, that's definitely something that's going to have them up and ripping and having a good time sooner. So in terms of ride quality, it's definitely an improvement over the Flyer 1 Plus. It's a very similar platform. They still use the model where the mast actually plugs in right to the battery, and then those pressure seal right against the board. So there's no track system, there's nothing connecting to the board. It's a really novel system and it works well. It makes it really, really fast to assemble, and you don't have to worry about any kind of strain on the board. because it's just acting as an intermediary. There's just kind of a sleeve holding it in there. They've stuck with the foam, which honestly is flipping brilliant. Couple reasons we like the foam. One, you don't honestly need a carbon board. If you're really pushing the high end of the spectrum of e-foiling, you're going as light as possible. Maybe there's a case, but you're always contending with that battery weight. That's going to influence not only the weight, but the flex. So you're not going to be able to drop into a wave and get like a really true pump. You know, certainly you can surf it, get a little free motion, but it's never going to be like a foil board without the battery. You know, you just can't compare those two in terms of performance. So with that said, I'm generally of the opinion that the carbon is just kind of an unnecessary expense when it comes to this. It looks really nice. There's something that feels good about owning carbon until you accidentally bump into your van or you set it on the rocks and it just gets scratched to heck and you're just kicking yourself because you had such a beautiful board that now has a big old blemish on it. Where these foam, it's kind of like a cooler in a canoe. You know, it slaps against the sides. Maybe there's some indents. But we've been ripping our Waydoos, you know, pretty consistently over the summer in lessons, and they still look pretty good. I think that's something that Waydoo did a really great job with. It really helped keep their costs in line. When people first get it, it does look like it may be a little cheaper. But again, there's a big advantage to it. Also, when you fall on the board, it's a softer foam. You know, they did upgrade the foam a bit this year. There's more texture, there's better color. It does feel a little stiffer. But it's still foam, so when you bump into it, it is a little softer on you. The weight difference, you do feel it when you carry it down for the session. But Waydoo did introduce a wheel accessory you can add this year, so you can go and actually assemble your Waydoo up at the car, attach the wheels to the board, and roll it right down. They unscrew, come right off. It's a really novel transport system, and it's necessary. One of the ways they were able to keep costs similar this year is they slashed a lot of the included accessories. So some downgrades this year. The Flyer 1 Plus always came with a fast charger. This year, the stock charger is a slow charger, so it's going to take 4 hours to recharge the battery versus 2. You can upgrade to the fast charger, but it is an additional expense. The really nice carrying case that they had for the Flyer 1 Plus, again, additional expense. Board bag, additional expense. I like that model when you first order it, especially right now when all the accessories aren't readily available. It might seem a little frustrating, but over time as they do fill in, it's a great way to keep the cost down by just choosing the stuff you want. You know, for us personally, we don't need that carrying case. We can leave it assembled here. We put it in the box truck, we attach the wheels, and that's all we need. Though for some people, storage, transporting to the beach, it is going to be important to have that case. It will come, it will be additional, but that just is a difference. When you open it up, you are getting less accessories seemingly, but it's at the benefit of saving money on it. Another slight downside is with the new performance motor. When you first are adjusting to the board or you're changing speeds, it's really noticeable. It's very torquey. So previously on the Flyer 1 Plus, you know, you could adjust and you could feel the change, but you didn't have to change your body position. I found myself on the new Evo having to shift a bit more because you can really feel the power ratchet up. Once you spend some time with it, you do get used to it. You naturally kind of shift to compensate for that. But when you're first on it, you're going to notice it just feels very torquey, very pushy between speed settings. You can kind of lend a feeling of not being super confident on the board. Just know you'll adjust to it. The other thing is with the standard 90 liter board, it isn't quite as stable and easy to get going as the 110 liter that came standard with the Flyer 1 Plus. So when you're first out there, if you feel like it's taken a little bit more work to get up, it feels a little tippier, it is. It's a smaller board, but once you're up, you really feel that smaller deck under feet. You know, your position feels a little bit better locked in. It's easier to lean into the turns and carve. So I think it was a really great change, but when you first get started, it definitely feels a bit different. In terms of ride feel itself, once you're out there, it's very similar to the Flyer 1 Plus. You know, you're dealing with a slightly smaller board. The wings right now are fairly similar. They are going to have a whole range of different front wings available as well, so that's going to change that ride feel. In terms of power, you can definitely feel that there's more power potential, the torquiness. I found myself just eFoiling at a lower speed personally. So whereas on the Flyer 1 Plus, I was probably spending most of my time on like a 9 to 10 setting. On this one, just getting started, I was probably 6 to 7. Then I'd ratchet it up and get some speed. So that's nice to have. A couple of our guys out there who would go up to 20, 24 before, they really didn't find themselves going above 15. There's just that much power and torque behind it. Maybe too much to be seen. You know, I think with some of the smaller high aspect wings, you'll benefit from that. And then once you add something like a propulsion unit for people who can't have exposed props, say in like Canada, you're really going to benefit from that more powerful motor. If you find yourself more of a cruiser and not needing the performance motor, it's a great way to save some money as well, just going with the standard motor, which is still going to be plenty powerful. One other disadvantage we found with the new Evo, and I think this will be addressed in time, is the update process is a bit more involved and it takes longer. Any board that's purchased through us, we're going to send automatically updated, but it is a process that down the road you're going to need to familiarize yourself with, because Waydoo does push out consistent updates on these boards. So make sure to check out our guides. I think again, over time, as they get more dialed, they get their software figured out, and they get production rolling on a larger scale, that process is going to be simplified. But for right now, it is a little bit more cumbersome than it was on the Flyer 1 Plus. A small complaint though, because it just rides really, really well. So in summary, I think Waydoo knocked it out of the park with the new Evo. They have more options, more power, more battery life. Well, what else do you want from an eFoil? At the same time, they were able to keep that price really, really compelling. I think at the current setup at $63.99, in terms of value and performance, it's easily the best product on the market. If you want to make it nicer, again, you can go carbon, you can push up all the way to 8,000. At that point, again, that's going to be a future review to see how well that stacks up against the highest end lift and flight. But on the other side, you're also going to be able to bring the price down. You're going to be able to go with a smaller battery, a sensorless board, the standard motor, and you're going to be able to probably be in the mid 5,000 range, which is just a very, very epic price for what you're getting for this. So overall, guys, the new Waydoo Evo is absolutely epic. We find ourselves constantly going out on it. The Flyer 1 Plus, which there's still some available, is a really, really awesome board. But if you just want to level up in terms of performance, ride quality, the Evo's your ticket. Waydoo, epic job. We look forward to reviewing it further once we have the whole gamut of accessories, but the future is looking bright, and we're going to be eFoiling for the foreseeable future. As always, thanks for checking us out. Let us know if you have any questions. We'll see you on the water.